how can I be in a relationship with an avoidant? Can you love somebody with an avoidant attachment style? Absolutely. We make avoidance out to be this robotic type love, like they don't have any feelings. They just live with a hard shell and they're just walking around here as robots. And that's not the case. Now, I'm going to come from a viewpoint of someone who is a former avoidant. I'm not giving tips and insights into something I know absolutely nothing about. I fully understand how avoidants think and feel. And I'm sitting here telling you that absolutely an avoidant can, one, go from being avoidant to secure, and two, they are absolutely capable of loving and giving and receiving love. It doesn't matter whether you have a secure attachment style, anxious, avoidant, fearful avoidant, dismissive avoidant. It doesn't matter. Relationships can trigger you, and you absolutely need to know your triggers because you need to learn how to self soothe them. So before you get into any relationship, and especially with someone who might have an avoidant attachment style, you got to pack your patience. You need to know when to hold them, when to fold them, and when to walk away. When I was an avoidant for 8 years and went on several dates, almost 200 of them with almost 200 men. Yes, and you would have thought that by like date 120, maybe it's me. Maybe the problem is me. No, I didn't. I wasn't. Not that I was blaming everybody else. I just kept saying, oh, he is great in this. He's great in that. Oh my goodness, he has this, he has that. It was like you kept looking for something that was better, with like one up. So it wasn't like, oh my gosh, everybody out here is trash. It's everybody else except me. Everybody's a problem except me. That's not the mindset of somebody who's avoided. Not no, because that's the mindset of somebody who might be narcissistic. If they blame everybody but themselves, no, it's more so I'm fantasizing about this one. I know this one exists and I'm looking for him or her, not realizing that they don't exist. They don't. I wouldn't recommend everyone to, if you notice that somebody's an avoidant, I'm not going to recommend everybody just say, okay, well, let me just try to convert this person. I bet you they can love me. No, let's not do that. That's not what this video is about. Because I can sit here and tell you if that is a mindset that you might have, like this might be a challenge, run, because that's not what this is. I don't want this to be viewed as a potential challenge. This is not a science project. You are not going to get a gold star to see how stressful it can be trying to convert somebody or change somebody, because you're not going to change anybody. So before you start dating someone who has an avoidant attachment style, we're going to go over some of those traits in a second because I want you to be able to recognize it quickly, because it is going to be a journey. And especially if you're somebody who has an anxious attachment style, this is not going to be a walk in the park. You're going to have to check your own triggers repeatedly. You need to learn to do that no matter who you date. And if you do have an anxious attachment style, y'all, I have a video that teaches you how to go from anxious to secure, because you absolutely need to do that, not for anybody else, but for yourself. So I'm going to leave that link in the description below. First, if you are new to my channel, y'all, I'm Vee Mindful. I'm a certified relationship coach and published author. Here we talk about everything related to relationships, from attachment styles, from masculine and feminine energy and communication. And of course, one thing that you may see on my channel, talk about traveling with your partner, because I fully believe if you want to get to know somebody, take a trip. There are so many things you can learn about somebody just by packing a bag and going somewhere. And it was just recently on the news, in the local news in the DC area. It was on the news about how relationships end after one vacation. It is a real thing. So if you want to know somebody, y'all take a trip. If you're interested in any of my offerings, whether it's my coaching programs or courses, y'all, please check the link in the descriptions below. What are some common traits of an avoidant? Avoidance fear intimacy, but they want it. That's the thing. They want intimacy, but the act of getting closer, the act of opening up and being vulnerable, I'm telling you right now, is very scary. But here's the thing. Do you know that most relationships never open up and become vulnerable? So it's really not all being an avoidant that prevents that. Just because you meet somebody and find out they aren't taking the relationship to the next level, where we're open, we're trusting, we're being completely naked. And I don't mean physically, I mean emotionally, spiritually naked. Do you know that most relationships never see that? Like well over 90% of relationships never see the complete vulnerable side of their partner. Many relationships stay in phase two of a relationship, which is more the surface level. Like we get along, we have a good time, we travel together, we may laugh, we may share some some stories about our childhood. We may be doing all of those things. We might be creating some intimacy, but what we're not doing is sharing all of our fears, our dreams, our hopes, everything that allows us to be open. Y'all remember the movie From Scratch? How that deep down love where they were just, ooh, really intimate. And what made that movie so very sad for many people was that type of love. And honestly, I'm gonna be very honest, and I'm a relationship coach. It's not as common as we would like it to be. It takes a lot for a person to be vulnerable and naked. So every time you've been in a relationship with somebody and they were not completely open and vulnerable, they were not all avoidance. That is not what makes an avoidant. That's what makes us human. What's the difference of somebody who might not be open and vulnerable from a normal person versus an avoidant? The intimacy will cause them to withdraw. Somebody who is let's say, has a secure attachment style, or even an anxious attachment style, they're going to go towards it. So you give a little, they'll give a little. You give a little, they'll give a little. If you're in a relationship with an avoidant, you give a little, they go this way. It's as simple as that. Like you'll notice, it's like, wait a minute, you're sharing too much too fast. I don't know if I need to know all that. Or after you have like a great day out, it was just so emotional. Y'all did so many great things together, and then you don't hear from them for 3 days. Yes, that is how you know you're dating an avoidant versus somebody who's just not opening up. So I came across an avoidant when I was single. And because I recognize the traits of an avoidant, I spotted it early on. So before I vested 4, 5, 6, 7 months with this person, and he had the classic traits of an avoidant to this day, he's 53 years old and he is still majorly an avoidant. 50 some years old, he still is looking for the one. All these women he dates a lot of women. He has not found the one. He is still actively searching. Two, he fantasizes about an ex. You will find avoiders do that. Oh my gosh, this ex, she was awesome. He was awesome. He was the one. My gosh, they were perfect. Wow. And they are measuring everybody up to this fantasy ex. And I'm like, that she even exists. I don't even know, but supposedly she did. They could come across as very, I hate to use the word normal, but like cool, especially in the early stages of a relationship. You know why? Because they've been there so many damn times. They've been in the early stages of a relationship so many times because they can't get past step 3 or even step 2. So therefore, they're really good at the beginning of this relationship. Y'all are having fun, y'all are doing things, y'all are having a great time because you know what? They know how to have fun, get to know you without stressing you out, without pressuring you for more. They're really good at that because they've done it so many damn times. That is the truth because they can't get out of that phase. That's where they live and they thrive. And another thing about them is you'll find, let's say y'all have a wonderful weekend together. Y'all had a great time. And all of a sudden, like I said earlier, you don't hear from them for a couple of days. They are decompressing. They are trying to get their space back, reclaim their energy, reclaim their independence. They are really trying to do that. And so they may disappear from you. You may not hear from them. And then you're like, what happened? Is it me? Is it me? Did I do something? Did I hurt your feelings? What did I do? What did I say? And especially if you have an anxious attachment style, this is your trigger that's going to really send you over the edge. That's why it's important if you have an anxious attachment style to please work on your attachment style because dating somebody who's an avoidant is going to trigger the hell out of you. Okay, so now with all that information about what an avoidant looks like, so the question is, how can I be in a relationship with an avoidant? One thing an avoidant does not want to hear is criticism, or anybody wants to hear criticism from somebody who's trying to date them. They might realize something is off in them, but they don't need you or anybody else to criticize them. That again, come from a place of curiosity. That is going to be your best bet. Avoidants don't date each other. They're much more rare. You'll rarely see avoidants dating each other. They're more likely to be in non-committed friendship type relationships that they just go on forever, but nobody's ever committing to the other person. Okay, but if you have an anxious attachment style, you might find yourself involved with an avoidant. Yep. So how are you supposed to behave? First and foremost, if you are anxious, I will tell you the best thing you could do for yourself is find somebody who's secure. That doesn't mean being in a relationship with somebody who's secure. That means it could be your girlfriend, your guy friend, your boss. It could be somebody, your parents, somebody, your pastor. I don't care who it is, but you have got to learn the traits of how a secure person operates, how they establish boundaries, how they communicate, how they react and respond in certain situations, and how they lay down the foundation for themselves in a relationship. You absolutely need to get to know somebody who is secure because you need to learn those traits. And the best way to learn those traits is to be around somebody who exhibits those traits. I could teach you all day what a secure attachment style looks like, but sometimes you need this in practice. You need to see this in theory. If you have an anxious attachment style and you're trying to date an avoidant, my second tip for you would be date a few people, date them all. This will keep you from getting hyper focused on one person. Now, I said date, I didn't say sleep with. Okay, there's a difference. I didn't say become a hoe. Okay, I ain't say just sprinkle your booty on out in the streets. I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying to prevent yourself from hyper focusing on one person, get to know a few people at the same time. And then when the time comes where you find like you prefer more time with this person over that person, then go ahead and explore that person. But don't just jump into be like, I like him. I like Jim. I like Jim because he is a wonderful person. You don't even know Jim. You just met him. Okay, what's wrong with Jim versus Tim? You don't know Tim yet. Get to know Tim too. This will prevent you from hyper focusing on one person. And the last thing an avoidant wants you to do is hyper focus on them. Okay, so now for everybody else trying to date an avoidant, not just the anxious attachment style, but if you yourself, you are secure and you're trying to date an avoidant, hey, is it possible for you? Yeah, you're in the best position to date an avoidant. Absolutely, because you, with your secure attachment style, can actually help somebody who is an avoidant. If you have an anxious attachment style, you got an extra layer, and that's why I gave you two other pieces of information. But if you have a secure attachment style, you can date somebody who's an avoidant. Tip number one for you: give them their space. Do not make this personal about you. If you have an anxious attachment style, I know you're going to be like, you must not love me. It's what I do. That's why you got to work on your triggers. Because somebody who is an avoidant, has an avoidant attachment style, absolutely they need their space. They need time to decompress. And it's hard for them to do that if you're in their face like this. They can't think, they can't breathe, they feel suffocated if you are on them like this. How do you give somebody space? Easy. You got to have your own life. You absolutely have to have your own hobbies. Your mate, and I don't care what your attachment style is, your mate cannot be your hobby. Women, I see women do this all the time. Women, women, women. Stop giving up your lives to be with your partner. He is dating you, he is liking you because he likes the person you are. Do not change for somebody. And that especially goes for somebody who has an avoidant attachment style. Do not make them your whole life, your whole existence. If you had plans for next Saturday night with your girlfriends, y'all been planning this and y'all gonna go, and your boo all of a sudden, I'm not talking about your husband. Okay, I'm not talking about your husband. I'm not talking about your lifelong partner. I'm talking about somebody you're just meeting and dating. You're in the early stages. You're in the first year of y'all dating ship. I'm talking about that type of relationship. And all of a sudden, he says, "You know what? Let's go out next Saturday. Let's go out next Saturday." And you're like, "Wait a minute. I'll go out with you, boo. I'll just cancel my outing with my girlfriends." Don't do that. Please don't do that, because the last thing an avoidant wants is for them to become your entire life. Keep your life, keep your friends, keep your outings, keep your other dates, keep your life, please. And when you're granting them the space, do not take it personally. No, it's not you. No, no, no. What did I do wrong? Did I do something wrong? He must not like me anymore. It's not you, it's them. It's literally them. The faster you can understand this, the better you'll be. Stop making everything about you. It's not about you. Sometimes, and I could tell you, as somebody who battled with having an avoidant attachment style, I could sit here and tell you, I needed my space. And because I'm a very highly independent person, I still need my space. I have no desires to be with anybody who wants to see me 24 hours a day. How? When I run a business, I have a family, I grind in my daily duties, I'm always doing something. And now you're making the relationship feel like an obligation. I now have to be obligated to see you instead of my wanting to freely choose you. I want to choose you. Allow me to choose you, right? Allow me to do that. You want to be chosen, don't you? You don't want to feel like an obligation. Oh, now I got to go see her. Now I got to go see him. Knowing daggone well, this person and you yourself, you have a lot of obligations yourself. So when you start to take things personally, and when you start to inundate their schedule with many opportunities of appearances by you, you're starting to make it feel like an obligation. I don't want you to feel like an obligation. I want you to feel chosen. I want you to be chosen. Another thing that you absolutely have to do if you choose to date somebody who has an avoidant attachment style, you're gonna have to learn how to communicate. And that's in any relationship, but with an avoidant, please avoid using the words like you always, but you never. Avoidants are going to view that as a lot of complaints. And the thing is, when you are trying to avoid a relationship, they don't want the relationship to feel like it's extra work. Again, an obligation. Like, oh, here we go again. Here we go again. I can, he's always complaining. I can't do anything right in this relationship. And so therefore, then they'll go back into their shell and they'll be like, I knew I was better off by my damn self. I knew it. I knew I shouldn't have been in a relationship. I just knew it. I knew it was going to drain me. The thing is, learn how to communicate. If you have an issue that you like to bring to the forefront with somebody who might have an avoidant attachment style, avoid just using those words. It's, I like to talk to you, hon, about XYZ. Hey, I really love how you did XYZ, but this right here made me feel just a certain type of way. I'm not saying never bring anything up. I'm saying learn how to introduce potential issues into the conversations. Bring it up. Absolutely. Please don't be walking around here on eggshells and never bringing up things that bother you. Absolutely not. Just watch how you communicate it. And you should be doing that regardless of the relationship. Nobody wants to hear you always, but you never spend time with me. You never. And it's like, I just spent time with you last weekend. Okay, so what now? I got to spend every weekend with you. Do you see how that could just maybe somebody who has been waiting, be like, ugh, and they might stiffen up and be like, you know what? I knew relationships weren't for me. Okay, I don't want you to just sit around here and complain. I want you to be heard. That's the goal. Be heard. If you found this video helpful at all, y'all, please consider subscribing to the channel. It really helps the channel grow and allow this message to get out to others who might need this help. Because I'm going to sit here and tell you now, I know a lot of y'all are out here trying to date somebody with an avoidant attachment style. So please don't believe the narrative that avoidance are impossible to love because they're not. Relationships take work. If you find yourself in a situation where you are the only one putting in the effort and the work to keep the relationship going, you yourself will have to make that decision when it's time to hold them, fold them, and walk away. Only you. I'm not going to sit here and tell you when to walk away. I'm not going to do that, but I can definitely give you some tips and tricks on how to walk away. But if you're avoiding yourself or you're trying to date and avoiding y'all and you want to share some tips, y'all, please leave some in the comment. Help somebody out. Share some knowledge. And if you have any questions or comments that you'd like me to address in a video, by all means, just leave a comment down below and I will absolutely do that. Y'all, till next time.